Hey friends, welcome to my podcast, Before and After. My name is Kristie Polk, I'm your host, and here we talk about navigating grief before and after the loss of a loved one. Whether you've lost someone yourself or if you find yourself supporting a close friend or family member who's experiencing loss, I hope you find something really meaningful in the following episode. One of the things, though, I wanted to say about the very first time that we ever visited the funeral home, I remember being in the back seat, and I remember feeling like I was standing, toes inched up to a dark, dark chasm. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to see. I didn't want to go to that place, the funeral home, because
finality.
Oh my gosh. You talk about something making something real.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a funeral home. This is pretty real. And and I don't have any cognitive awareness of what I thought. Like I couldn't see. I saw like a fork in the road or a decision to be made or facing this dichotomy, but I can't tell you what was down a road. Like there's nothing concrete. I'm so sorry. But what I do remember is just utter darkness. Just that I wasn't sure I could ever recover from if I fell in that chasm. And almost like lightning, I remember sitting in that back seat and saying, and I don't know if I said it out loud or to myself, but I remember thinking, God is good. He did not turn evil on March 30th of 2021. And if that is true, then everything else he says is true. And everything about his character is true. And that doesn't change because something terrible happened and I'm now heartbroken. That doesn't change God's character. That changes my situation.
And your life.
And my life.
Forever.
Correct. But it doesn't change his character. And so
God is still God.
He has to still be good.
Yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
And that's it. Yeah. Did I say it out loud?
You have said it out loud at some point. I don't know if it was that day.
That's what I was thinking.
You have said that
numerous times.
Yeah.
Because that was a pivotal, foundational moment for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, I was teetering on like nothing's real, nothing's good, nothing's right. I can't come back from this. And if you'd asked me, could you survive the loss of one of your children?
Absolutely not.
Before 2021, I would have looked you dead in your eyes and said 100% no way. No way. I'll be in an institution.
I will say, that's one of the things we've prayed about as moms and raising our kids together is we cannot love them more than we love Jesus. We can't.
I know. And do you know what? You said something earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt so soon, but you said something earlier that just blessed me like an arrow to the heart, though. And you said you love Jesus, and then you tacked on even more than your kids.
Yeah.
But here's the irony of that.
But we never thought he would take one. That he would let one go.
I prayed he wouldn't.
I know. That's what I'm saying, friend.
I even said, God.
We both did.
I love my children into my skin.
Yeah.
I'm never tired of them.
Never.
I never want them to go to a babysitter or go away from me. I never, even if they're driving me crazy, in their toddler days or whatever, and I need 10 minutes, I just need 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't need them to go spend the day somewhere. I don't need somebody to come pick them up. I just need 10 minutes. I love talking to them. I love hearing from them. I love sitting and just watching them interact with other people. Mm-hmm. I love it. We just went out to dinner with Mackenzie and Liz last Thursday, and for whatever reason, there just happened to be a whole flood of people he went to school with or knew through another friend or whatever, and I just got to watch what looked like this parade of people coming up and visiting with my son, and I got to watch them interact and
be
do
an
that
adult,
boy handshake and the whole, all that stuff, and I could have I don't even need to eat. I could have come there just to watch that, And at some point when they were younger, it must have been something we were talking about or something at church or whatever, but I remember thinking, oh, Lord, if I do love them more than you, because I can't tell.
Right.
How do you gauge that? I don't know. But if I do, please forgive me and just tell me and I'll change it.
Right.
Don't
Don't
take
let
one.
that be the pun. Yeah.
Right.
Not punishment, but
Right.
you
The
know, the
consequence.
repercussion.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And
Correct.
And then the irony years later. Really?
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting. And that's something, that's where I have to reframe, and I have to do that cognitive work, not to ruminate on, what if I did this? What if I
No.
didn't love them that way? What if I can't change anything.
Right. The
Right.
what
No,
ifs
so
are-
there's no
Right.
point.
And all that's going to happen is I'll deteriorate from the inside out if that's my focus. And so, again, unanswered questions. Again, my faith informs me that I will find out one day. And here's the thing: I heard somebody say, "You can ask why, God, why?" And I'm not minimizing that. That's a big question. That's
Yeah.
huge. Let's say he told me, would I agree with him?
Right.
Probably not.
Is that
Right.
going to give you peace?
Nope. No, it's
No.
not. It's not. And so I don't ask why. I mean, I'm not saying I've never asked why. I've never camped out on the why.
Well, that's not your go-to either.
It's what now?
Right.
This is what it is. So what now, God? Where do
Now
we
what
go
do you
from
want me
See,
here?
and I got
That's
a
right.
little lost in the why with Bray.
Yeah.
I mean, not,
Yeah.
but just as, I just don't get it.
I don't either.
I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand. It just seems so unfair. You know, other
Yeah, it
people
does.
struggle in lots of other ways, and it just, so, and I remember a conversation we had, and it was within the first year after.
Excuse me.
And we were talking, and I actually said, but sometimes I get angry because why her? I mean, other people have a journey that is obvious it's going to bring them there,
Right.
and hers wasn't,
Yeah. And they're still here.
and she's not. And so, and you said something so beautiful.
Oh.
You said, God knows what her life would have been like on this earth and what her life would be like in heaven. And he made the decision
Yep.
that it was better to take her now.
Yep.
I mean, again, what
That
else
is
do
a
I have?
faith.
What else do I have?
Yes.
But I mean, that is a
there's
faith.
lots of other things you could have, but that's what you have chosen.
Yes, that is a faith
Yeah.
that is gigantic. And to tell your friend who's grieving for your daughter and support
Yeah.
your friend and answer
be
that
okay,
question.
friend.
Yes, I mean, really? And that's why it wasn't immediate. It was
Yeah.
a while after before I even felt
Yeah.
like it was okay to share
Yeah.
my memories or my grief,
Oh, yeah.
things like
No, I
because I
think you
didn't do
both-
that for a long time.
I thank you both for that. I mean, and I've often thought, this is going to get so tiresome for my close friends because I'm going to want to talk about something and it's going to be the same doggone picture I don't have anymore. I only have the pictures I have.
yeah.
I only have.
I love hearing them.
But sometimes I need to talk about her.
Right.
I love it.
Well, yeah.
And I can't change therapists every time.
Here's a
Well,
Or
the
go get a new
good thing is Bray was such a personality.
Oh,
Her
wow.
heart. I mean, you could, yeah.
and a million photos. All
Well,
beautiful.
and I mean,
I don't have them. I don't have them.
the Bray way was so unique.
Oh, yeah.
It's like watching your favorite I Love Lucy sitcom
Yeah.
3,000 times because it's just so funny because she's Lucy.
Right, right.
Well, Bray's Lucy.
Yeah.
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 So I don't mind the reruns.
Okay. Well,
No, I don't
appreciate
mind at
that.
all, no.
Yeah.
I actually,
I will.
we were in year 2, and you were saying, 2 is
Oh,
2 is even harder than 1
two is
on some.
so hard.
And I was feeling guilty because I was like, I don't know I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing at this point.
Right.
As your friend, I don't know how to support you. I can't send you a card every week. That's ridiculous. I feel like if I bring her up a lot, then it just upset. It would upset you. I was
It's hard to
floundering.
navigate.
I really was.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a friend from a long time ago that I worked with before my own children. She then came to where I'm working now, but she left before I got there. Anyway,
Okay.
our paths have kind of done this.
Yeah.
She lost her only daughter 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And like we have a tree planted at Emerge Ortho for her.
Wow.
And she posts every year on her birthday, and I reached out to her and I said, I need help.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
My
How
best
smart
friend,
of that.
My best
Yeah.
friend has lost her daughter, and I've known her since her first birthday. So
Yeah.
it's like a stepdaughter,
Yeah.
something. And I don't know how to support her now. I'm fine in the moment. I'm good at the moment.
Right. The
This thing will
crisis
click.
part is-
I will do what I need to do.
Yeah.
I will love you up. I'll jump in the ditch, whatever.
Right.
But it's past, and life's moving on. But
Yeah.
not. But it is. But it isn't. And I don't know what to do.
And it has to, but it can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we just
How
we
dare
talked
it.
back and forth some. And I said, you are way down the road, but I know you still grieve. I read your posts all the time. And she said, there's nothing you can do. I said,
Right.
that is not the answer I wanted, Ruth.
But there's some freedom in that.
It is.
Right?
It
and I
is.
love parents like that
yeah.
that have been down this road longer and further than I have. They're so helpful to me.
Yeah. She said, just love her. Just be there. If you need to talk about it, talk about it. She's going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's
okay.
right.
But still, like, Bray's pictures will pop up.
Yes.
Her
Oh.
wedding picture was on my memory.
It was?
It came up as a memory on June 14th.
Right. The wedding.
Yes.
The
And I
wedding.
don't know why it
pictures
was
that you
on
did.
June 14th, though.
I guess you posted, or I posted somebody, and maybe I shared it and posted on my Facebook page.
Yeah, but-
so it came up as a memory, and I just
Which
burst
one?
into
Liz,
tears right there.
Mackenzie and Liz's?
No,
Or
Bray's
Braylon's?
wedding.
Yeah.
in her wedding
Mackenzie.
dress.
But it was funny because Mackenzie and Liz's wedding popped up. And maybe it was just because I had posted it
Yeah.
a couple.
That day, yeah,
And there's Braylon.
Yes.
yeah.
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 And I
Every
almost
now and
posted,
then.
but I didn't. I was
But
like,
you
I'm not
can.
doing it. I'm not
You
doing it. I'm not
can.
doing it. I know,
But you
but I
can.
didn't. I just had my own little moment, and I moved
Okay.
on.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot.
Because,
She's been popping up a lot on my memories lately. Because New Year's.
Yeah. Yeah.
spent
No,
years that
always,
year. I
always
mean-
feel free to do that because, it's one of the, it's irrational, but it's real. I mean, it still is a real fear that she'll be forgotten
Right.
because there's nothing to keep her relevant.
Right.
It's
There's
a
no more new.
There's no more new. There isn't.
Right,
I mean,
right.
everything I have is reruns, and
Thank goodness for those, though.
thank goodness.
Goodness,
I'm
we
so
like
grateful.
reruns. I like
Yeah,
reruns.
but I mean, again, it
Learn
just
something new every time.
it's
You
true.
watch one.
And so to know that other people aren't forgetting her
No.
is such a gift. So always feel free.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be jolted. Same way that when I go to send somebody a text or send a picture to somebody, and she comes up on my phone because she's still a contact
Yeah.
I was driving.
or on Facebook. Yeah.
It was maybe the first year. I don't know. But it was still relatively new. So it was for sure the first year. Anyways, I was driving and I saw a girl that looked just like her from the back.
wow.
I mean, like, I was like, oh my God, there's Bray. And it just, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Right.
But your heart just hopes for a minute.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
I mean-
reality sets in.
And then you're like, no, that's not Bray. Yeah.
I have not seen anybody, but I have caught my heart hoping she's going to return soon from some trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or smell her.
Yeah.
Smell her perfume.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have her perfume and everything, but so I do smell that sometimes.
So now that we've stretched our legs and done all that, we were at, we were bouncing around, but I think from a timeline perspective, where we really stopped was visiting the funeral home for the first time,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
was to do the funeral planning.
Right.
And you had talked about the abyss and
Yeah.
making that intentional choice
Yeah.
not to fall into that. And then we all went in, we all being Mackenzie and Liz, you and Harry, myself and Brandon, and I think Teray and Nan. Teray
So
and
did
Nan.
Nan go as well?
Yes,
Okay. I
yeah,
thought
because
so.
Nan was the one that wanted
asked.
to see Bray. So do you remember much of that?
No, I don't. I remember the man behind the desk, and I remember him just talking. But in my mind, it just sounds a lot like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yes, want, want.
It's just want. Just no, I can just hear him. But people are nodding, and so he must be making sense to someone because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to expect, and I'm trying really hard to stay present in the room, but it's really hard.
Was that why Mackenzie took a leadership role, do you think? Because a lot of the decision making, you deferred to him.
Yeah, well,
Which was a little surprising to me, and I wasn't really certain. It's not a criticism. I thought it was really quite beautiful. And because it seemed to help him.
yeah.
Well, he's a natural leader anyway.
He is, but it seemed to give him purpose, and
Yes.
he needed some purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't sure if it was intentional at all, or if you just couldn't, and he stepped up.
No, so I agree in that with the dynamic the way it was. I agree that I couldn't. It was hard for me to focus. It was hard for me to figure out. But I think had I had some realization that it all fell on me, I think I could have nodded yes, no, whatever my way through it. But I knew that it was real. I remember Mackenzie had been talking about, I want this song to play, or I want, you know what it was? I know exactly what it was. It was whatever time we made the Facebook post, Mackenzie was very much a part of that. He had really inserted himself into that. And I really wanted the sentence included there, just like, please don't reach out right now, right? I didn't want hundreds
Of messages and
I didn't. I knew I
dings.
couldn't respond to.
Well, and it referred most everybody to Robin or I.
Yes.
So
But Mackenzie did not want that in there. He said it's going to make people feel like they're not included. It's going to be an invitation to stay away. I think we put it in there anyway, which he never agreed with, and he was vocal about that.
I don't think, but it wasn't. It was like, for questions, please contact.
It
Rob.
was.
It wasn't a
It wasn't
don't
a
contact us.
Exactly.
It
It was worded differently.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was a compromise.
Well, it really concerned him,
yeah.
and so
That's
I think,
pretty
I think that
big thought
Yeah.
for him, because I think he was probably right in that.
I think so.
And I think also I remember him articulating that you lost Bray, but a lot of other people loved Bray and lost Bray
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And he never seemed to lose sight of all the other people.
He didn't. He
Because
really
he
didn't.
knew how many people loved.
Yeah.
Right.
He really, so I knew, and I sort of took the cue of how involved does he want to be, need to be, whatever, because I didn't want the burden to be on him.
Right.
Right.
But I could tell he was inserting himself, like he wanted
Yeah, I'm
to
saying
be
he was
there.
very he vocalized that he wanted
Yeah.
to be in charge. He wanted to have a say.
And that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like y'all stepping up to fill the gaps. And well, he was kind of doing the same thing. But I don't think that was what motivated him to do it. I think he was looking for, I think he was, I hate to use the word desperate, but I think he needed to know this was going to have some purpose, and it was going to be intentional and meaningful.
Right.
And I think he had some ideas about what that should look like. And so,
I think also too, don't you think that he wanted to do that for his sister?
that's what I mean.
He wanted
Yeah,
to honor
exactly.
Bray and
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah.
that
He couldn't
that
do
is-
it. He knew. I think he knew that was the end of what he could do for
Yes.
his sissy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can
Yeah.
do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to have that. I really,
That's beautiful.
I really just saw all of us grieving together.
Yeah.
It really wasn't until later when other people used language like, I'm just the fill in the blank, you're the mom. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That I started realizing, oh, gotcha. Okay, so this is a dividing line. And I get it. That's very honoring, and I'm sure I feel it acutely, as the mom, for sure. But I hadn't yet separated my grief from his grief, from my husband's grief, from
Right.
Nancy. I wasn't doing that. In fact, I think I think at the very beginning I just sort of assumed everybody's life had become a vacuum now. You know what I mean? And it took me a while to realize that is actually not true, for lots of different reasons. But anyway, so at that time, I just felt like he had as big a right or voice or whatever else.
His grief was just as big.
It was just as big.
Yeah.
And so, I think that was just, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think the awareness had come over me yet that he's going to feel this way and that way, and I need to run interference, and so this is a gift to allow him to be involved. I think it was just a reflex response. Of course, if you want that song, or of course, if you want it to be arranged this way, or you want it to be this way or that way, of course.
Right.
You have just as big a voice in this as anybody else, or as I do.
Having watched other families grieve, a lot of times people get so overwhelmed by their own grief that they can't see others. And I think, again, probably going back to your faith and your relationship with God is a reason that you could. And I think that is a grace that He has always given you and was especially useful, because I don't know that your family would be as strong. There's not many families that can lose a huge part of their family, and it's different 3 years later, but it's just as strong.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say, you're still thriving. You really are.
And there's not many families that can go through this kind of loss and say that.
And some of that is just your family. Even your extended family has always been like that. I have felt closer to your family than I ever have my own. And we were close-knit. We did all of the holidays together,
Right.
my whole family. But if I had to say, I've always felt more accepted in your family than I even did in my own. And that's because you guys truly just love everybody right where you are. And you're willing to do whatever to make the person feel that way, even if it means saying hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like that's my specialty. I love you enough to say this hard thing, friend.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But you will do it to
notice
each
who I've
other, is
picked,
what I'm
though.
saying, though.
Notice who I've picked as my closest friends, people who are willing to say hard things back.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like that's a real sacrificial love, because if I'm always wanting to learn more, do better, behave better, et cetera, I assume that about you as well.
Right.
Of course.
And so, anyway, so
Yes,
I've always
men are
appreciated
fun, but
Yeah.
they're not.
but
real,
but not in
They're
a
not
pinch.
real helpful with growth.
They're not.
Yeah.
Or you don't. To me, it comes down to an issue of trust,
Yeah.
because you're going to protect yourself when the rubber hits the road, and you're going to say whatever keeps the peace, not what I truly need to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
It's a selfless love.
endlessly less valuable to me.
I
Yeah.
did want to mention, though, because we've had a lot of conversation, and especially like at the funeral home, about Harry. Because it almost sounds like he wasn't there.
Right.
Harry's not a talker.
He's
Yeah.
not.
He's not a
very quiet.
communicator. He's always quiet.
He
But
is.
when things are really hard, it's even more so. But he had a strength,
Yeah.
physically, emotional strength that was visible and felt without words throughout all of it. And I felt like we were kind of, and Harry,
Right.
You know, his grief was big,
Yes.
Yes.
It still is.
She was his girl.
and his
Yeah.
hurt was immeasurable.
Yeah.
But he was there. He was
Yeah.
there for you. He
Yeah.
was there for Mackenzie. He was there for Liz.
And he has
And
not checked out.
No.
I was.
Not one time has he checked out.
He's not.
And y'all
In
were
fact,
almost
he-
3 years into it, and he's still
He's still there.
so sad.
Yeah.
And still grieving in his own way, but he's still there. the second
And he
way.
still
he's
checks
still
in with me.
supporting, and he's still
Yeah.
loving, and
I'm going to go do this, but do you need me?
right,
How are you today?
right.
Well, and I'll
Sure.
ask him about things, in social situations, especially around anniversaries and things like that.
Right.
We tend to oftentimes be together around those times.
yeah. We
Probably
do.
intentional.
Probably.
On my calendar. Probably. Yeah, just saying.
But, without ever saying anything, I'll say, how are you? And so often he'll be honest. He'll say, it's hard.
Yep.
Or
I'm
I'm
struggling.
okay. Or,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I don't know." But he always is like, but Kristie, or but Mackenzie.
Right.
And he'll kind of direct me, this is what they could use, or this is, he's still such a caretaker
Yeah.
for the family in his own way.
Absolutely.
And I just, because we were talking about Mackenzie, just didn't
Yeah.
want to miss that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because, I might be over there with the baby, his son and with him and I can just, he might say a little comment or wish something or whatever, and I can go back home and tell
Mackenzie,
Harry.
you're talking
Mackenzie
about.
was,
As I
yeah.
say,
yeah.
And I can
Thank
go
you.
back home and say to my husband, hey, it's probably time to check in with Mackenzie, or maybe y'all just need to play golf this
right.
weekend, or you need, he might just, I think he wants us to come over and just cook out. We just need to hang out for a bit, and so, because I think that's really comforting to him to know that the family's still intact and we still do those things. We come over the weekend
Yeah.
and we grill out or whatever. Like, not just one of us or a couple of us, but we make it a point, all of us. We're there and we do it. And so, so that's been,
And what a strong foundation you built, both you and Harry, that you've had a tsunami hit your family, and that foundation is still there.
yeah. Yeah, and it's where he's running. I mean, he goes back to that.
Yeah, even Mackenzie, that's
That's
what
it.
he wants.
It is
He's
exactly
like,
what he
no,
wants.
no,
Yeah.
come over.
Yeah, I think he'd have us there 5 or 6 nights a week for dinner if our schedules would do it.
But the funeral home.
Yeah.
So you were in Snoopy Land.
Yeah, right. Wah. Yeah, and I remember Mackenzie asking for certain music, or am I conflating
No,
that?
that was
with
at
the pastor's office.
That was at the pastor's office.
Okay. Yeah, see, I
Which
I
we
remember
went right
less.
after the funeral home.
Oh, we did? It was
Yeah.
the same day?
Yes.
Oh, that helps you.
Yeah, I know.
Then.
Okay, it's not as bad off as I thought.
It was the funeral home and then the church.
We drove over to church. Okay. Yeah, I just don't remember anything. I remember being in that little room, and I remember watching Mackenzie and Harry a lot, which is why I don't think I really understood what the man was saying. And I do remember, I really don't think I would enjoy that man's job, because in the midst, I mean, we packed his office.
It was Frank Sussman.
Yeah, but it was his son or something that was running it.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was in that office that day, and he's having to talk about how it's going to be paid for.
Yeah.
He's having to ask about insurance and coverage and really important things, but really,
And here's her husband.
yeah,
That for me was. He just, I mean, we've talked about and even mentioned in the break, Brandon, and he was there in all of this.
All right, because he really had to make the decisions because he overrode Harry and Kristie because he was the husband.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just now remembering
Yeah.
that.
And he, when we got to, and they were very graceful at continuing. Brandon, is that okay? Brandon's not a talker. He's not a decision
Not a
maker.
decision-maker, right.
He was just going along.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was
whatever.
like a lost sheep. He was like, which direction should I go
he was
now?
just in
And
shock.
yeah. And so at the end, when he's asking about payment, that was the one thing. And I think that actually gave him a sense of purpose, because that's the only time in all of the decision-making process that he definitively made a decision and said, I'm paying for it.
Well, she had insurance through the military,
Right.
Because of him.
right? And we didn't have any information.
Right.
We had nothing.
But I mean, he said,
But,
"I'm
he's like,
taking
yeah,
care."
I got
That
it.
was the
Yeah.
that was
He
like
rose to that
his
occasion.
one
Absolutely.
step
Took care of
up.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, not, and I mean,
I know what
the
you
one
mean.
time where he just like was
could
like,
really shine
"I've
and
got
say,
this,"
"I've got
you
this." Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I think for him, everybody has different moments that help them through, and I think for him, it wouldn't be for me. Being able to write the check or take care of wouldn't give me any solace or wouldn't make me feel like I was doing something. But for him, it did. And everybody's different. And kind of going back into the Mackenzie thing, he needed to have say so in almost everything, to have his little hand print in a little bit of everything as a tribute to his sissy.
Absolutely.
So everybody, I think one of the beautiful things you did in that time period was you were, and I don't know how, but you were able to read what people needed and give them the grace and the space
To do it.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's my first thought was probably paying too much attention to other people and their emotions from childhood trauma. But maybe now's not the right time for that conversation. But if so, you know what? I mean, I'm grateful for whatever that gave everybody the space. Because I think, like you said earlier, this thing set the tone for the rest of it, and I think that each one of those pivotal moments either set a new tone or reiterated, this is what we do.
Right,
This is who we are and what we're doing.
I think reiterated would be the right thing because you set the tone when you walked in that door that
Yes,
night.
you did.
And there was never, ever, now, not just to make you a saint, because I hate
I was
it when
gonna
people
say,
do
yeah,
that.
like-
I mean, there were a couple family members that got kind of hysterical and real dramatic, and you got very frustrated.
Yes.
And had to walk away, or
Yes.
like, I'm just going to punch them in the face if they say that one more
Right,
time,
right, right, yeah.
So, I mean, just not, or in the throat, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
which one it was.
I probably said
Yeah. But, of course, you wouldn't do that. So, I mean, you were real. And I don't want people thinking that, oh, here's this saint.
Right.
No,
No.
you're a real person.
No. Yeah,
with real
absolutely.
emotions that's
Absolutely.
Right.
just had grace.
Well, it goes back to the whole
And
family.
had faith and had
Yes.
foundation, and you handled things beautifully, but not perfectly.
Good.
And you weren't, I mean,
Well, she did
'cause
take
you're human.
control. Like you said, she gave space to everybody. When she needed to speak or say something, she did, and they listened. When Mackenzie needed to speak or make a decision, they listened. When
Right.
Harry, whomever it was.
Yeah, I think everybody really gave everybody
Y'all-
space.
yes, you
I
did
mean,
so
That's a
well
lot of
together.
it. That is a lot of it, I think.
I used to say to the kids,
And I think the only conflict, I'm sorry,
Yeah, no.
the only conflict during any of the time, and it wasn't, I even hate to say conflicts, but bumps, were when people tried to take space. And
Right.
and then it took it away from others.
like when you
Yeah.
suck the oxygen out of the room.
Exactly. And that was
Like,
the
nobody else
only
can
time
breathe.
there were any
Yeah.
like cringy, like,
Like at
God,
the funeral
help
home when
me.
people.
Yeah.
Or
You know,
losing
that kind of
control.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. Everybody has their own reactions, their own limitations, their own gifts. I get it. It's just when one person
You just got to be careful how you
reacts
place that on
way,
others.
right? Then sometimes it could then be the catalyst for someone else reacting another way. You know what I mean? And so yeah, and I did. Those kinds of things made me feel very out of balance. I mean, very. I genuinely didn't know how to respond.
Right.
I didn't.
Well,
I was just.
And the thing there,
What I do- I
Kristie,
don't know.
it was so much of the childhood trauma and challenges that you faced in life before. You haven't been recognized as being. It's not even victim, as the needer.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
Right.
It's
my position is more like caretaker.
Right.
Right,
And
not
so
the- yeah.
I think, and that's something else too, is because that is your normal go-to. Okay, so what do we need to do? I need to, like Robin,
Yeah.
let me
Pull up your
feed you.
bootstraps,
Like,
let's do it.
Yeah.
And you were able to just understand that you can't do that.
No.
And even though that might be your role with that person or people,
Yeah.
normally you would be the fixer. You would be the person that.
That was us. We tried to be the
Right.
fixers because we
Yeah.
knew that you
Yeah.
didn't need that role, nor could you do it.
Right. No, and I couldn't. And I think that's the thing is I really did. I really was sort of forced into the position of the receiver because I had experienced a tectonic change.
Yeah.
I mean, from my very core, the plates shifted.
Yeah.
And I keep going back to paralysis because that's how I felt. I couldn't put words to what I was feeling. It didn't even feel real. None of it made sense. I lost a timeline. I couldn't tell. I mean, it's like being in a dark room. You don't know if it's day or night. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And then the few times that my mind would go to the permanency. How do I trudge through mud in a space where I can't breathe?
Right.
And I can't feel my insides. I mean, like, but I have to do this forever now?
Right.
I mean, or
It's not like, let me
or
get through
10
this
years,
week.
right. I could not see the temporariness of it. You know, I just,
Because it's not.
Because it
Because
wasn't
it's not.
temporary.
I
you knew
know.
that.
But
Because
I
you live in
just-
reality.
and even now, as you can tell, right, from this visceral reaction, I when I wake up or whatever and I think, oh God, this is, it's like Groundhog's Day.
Another
You
day
just,
without
it's
breath.
another day. And I'm going to navigate this day, you know, and it's exhausting. The navigation is absolutely exhausting, you know. And so, but I think that, you know, to sort of speak to that, to the sainthood idea, it wasn't, well, let me just have this intellectual understanding, and this is a time when I need to receive. It wasn't. It was,
Right.
No.
this is the best I can do. I think I'm sitting up. That's a success. There's another day in the books. And gratefully I had y'all to help the day move forward, but I just, you know, I just couldn't. I couldn't see which way was up. And I very much felt like I had been, you know, strapped to a little canoe or a kayak or whatever, and I was flipped upside down. And I was in the water, and I can't right myself. I don't know how to.
Right.
So, in that position, trying to make a decision or take some leadership role or anything feels absurd.
Right.
Absolutely absurd. And then, you know, of course, my mind is still vacillating between how do I get through right this minute, not even 5 minutes from now. How do I get through right now? And then how do I do that for years?
Right.
Thanks for watching this episode of Before and After. I hope it was as meaningful for you to watch as it was for me to make. Next time, invite a friend. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow me on other platforms. I've listed everything in the description.